Thank you, Mr. President. I listened with amusement at some of my colleagues talking about what we're doing today relative to the rest of session. And I thought maybe memories are short, so I thought I'd take a moment to just remind my colleagues of the historic nature of achievement that this majority has brought. Because I heard Senator Lanza just point out that he's surprised we're doing this when there's so much to be done. But let me remind him that we did enact historic election reform. We passed GENDA. We did the Child Victims Act, historic criminal justice reforms, important traffic safety legislation, historic gun violence prevention, protection of women's rights. We did legislation to punish revenge porn more aggressively, and to ban offshore drilling, just to name a few. So by any account, this session, with a month and a half still to go, has been more productive than any member on the other side of the aisle has when they served in the majority. And we still have more to go. We have a lot more to do. The truth is that this is a dangerous time in America, when we have a president who is defying the norms of checks and balances and the balance of power in this country, when you have congressional committees being ignored, when you have executive privilege asserted over an entire report whose very purpose was to identify potential wrongdoing in an administration, and just today the president says, I don't want anyone to see any of it. I wonder why. I wonder why. So to merely say that when a duly elected body of government, the United States House of Representatives or the United States Senate, wants to see information that they believe is relevant to their job of oversight and are ignored by the person who does not want to be subject to that oversight, that we should step in as a state and say we have the unique ability, because we're New York, because a version of those tax returns reside here in New York, that we should step forward and make sure that the House can provide the oversight that's empowered to under the Constitution. I heard a lot in the discussion of the previous bill about constitutional principles and how important they are. Well, the hypocrisy is pretty obvious when on the very next bill, all of a sudden, constitutional requirements of checks and balances don't matter to the very same people. Now, what's the common thread? They think they're protecting President Trump. All we hear for weeks is they want to go after criminals, but not if it's someone in this administration. All we hear about is transparency and the need for it, but not when it's related to President Trump. The fact is, this administration is taking this country down a very dangerous path that we have not seen in this country since the early 70s. And if we have the ability to do something about it here in New York, we have the obligation to do something about it here in New York. That's what we're doing today. And I want to commend Senator Hoylman for rolling up his sleeves and not giving up on this issue. We're going to be proud that we passed this today and make sure that the people in this country who are elected to make sure that the president is doing his job properly have the ability to do that. Thank you, Mr. President.